Congressman, good evening. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Is there anything you heard from the president that has moved the needle for you?
No, not at all. I guess he suspects we're all Judy Holliday and we were born yesterday, but none of us were.
So
this is a crazy deal.
So
three years for the Dreamers and a $5.7 billion waste for a wall. That's a deal that nobody would take.
So what is it that's going to break this logjam, as he put it?
Well, I think the president needs to sit down with Speaker Pelosi, not with Jared Kushner, Pence, and McConnell, and work with the other side to come up with a compromise. He came up with a compromise with his own team. That's not a compromise. He said it was fair, reasonable, common sense, straightforward. If it's fair, reasonable, common sense, and straightforward to give Dreamers and TPS individuals 3 years, then why not do it without legislation? Why has he not been for it in the past? You know, the fact is he needs to sit down with Speaker Pelosi. We're not going to have a wall. We might have some additional border protections. It's the 21st century. It's about drones. It's about technology that ferret out drugs, that ferret out weapons, that increase personnel on the borders, more judges, immigration judges. We need to put our people back to work. The fact is he's got the federal government employees as hostages, and he's also got the Dreamers as hostages. There haven't been more hostages taken never by an American president. This is something that happened in Iran. This is something that happened in Lebanon. This is something that happened in Russia. That's where you have hostage takers. The President of the United States is right there in the same boat with those people, and it's immoral. The wall's not immoral per se. You could do something with walling, but keeping American government officials as hostages, that's immoral.
So I just want to make sure that I understand where you are on this, because the things that you just mentioned, tech, he put in there $805 million for drug detection tech. He put in 75 new immigration judge teams, and he has sort of walked away from some of the conversation on the wall. He said a steel barrier in high priority locations. Did you hear anything that says to you, well, maybe if the government reopens, we actually could get a deal here?
Well, the government's got to reopen first. I don't think he'll do that. You've got it with Trump. You've got to get your.
So where does that leave the 800,000 workers?
Well, they're in a bad position, and they're in a bad position because their boss, the president's job, is to run the government and to make it operate, and he is not doing his job. He needs to do his job. His job is not to take federal government people hostage. And then we had an agreement at one point billion for border security, passed the Senate. That was a Republican thing. He agreed to it until Rush Limbaugh and Laura, whatever her name is, told him it was wrong, and then he changed his whole position. Now he wants the whole $5.7 billion. He's had 2 years. He's built not 1 inch of wall, and he's not used monies we've given him that he has in reserve. This is just absurd. The fact is we've got a president that can't operate and can't do the job of President of the United States. He needs to resign.
Did it surprise you at all, Congressman, that he talked about violence, he talked about rape, he talked about the drug problem in America, and didn't say anything to address those 800,000 workers who are coming up on a second paycheck they're not going to get?
Most definitely it did. He doesn't care about the workers. He doesn't understand what it's like to live from paycheck to paycheck, to have a house note, to have a car note, to have to pay tuition for kids in college, or to be paying back your college loan. He doesn't understand any of that because his father gave him $560-some-odd million, and he never paid back. And even then, he squandered it and went bankrupt with his casinos. The problem is he doesn't care about that. And what he brought up about the rape and the prayer rug in the desert, you know, that's all fiction. You can't. The sad thing is you can't believe anything this president says. He does not have a grip on reality or any concern about the truth. And that makes negotiations difficult, and it makes our government and our politics very difficult because the man is a pathological liar.
Congressman Steve Cohen, thank you so much for your time. How are things in Memphis?
It's starting to snow a little bit, but the Memphis Tigers whooped up on SMU by about 30 points. That was good. I went out with our government workers at the IRS Center, and they're staying noble, but they're having problems. And I participated in our Women's March. So Memphis is moving along. And Dr. King's birthday is Monday, and that's a big day in Memphis. Civil Rights Museum's open and have tons of tourists.
Congressman, good to see you.
And a big basketball game.